Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Sipping Tea with Suzanne show. Not only is it International Women's Day, I am sitting here with a phenomenal woman. All right, Miss Giselle. So if you follow me, you know that Giselle and I are like practically the same height. So we love to take pictures. So I loved it. Like, we always take pictures together, and it's the cutest thing. I love it. I love it. I love it. But so welcome to the show once again. You know that we go live every Wednesday. Thank you so much for those who are subscribers, those who have hit that notification button, and those who tune in week after week. We do appreciate you. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much. Hopefully, it won't be the last time. Listen, after today's episode, I know it won't be the last time, but let me call out my sponsors. So my first sponsors happens to be Life Garden Cafe. They are your one-stop shop for all things fantastic. The space is incredible. The food is awesome. The people, they're so warm and welcoming. So please reach out to them. You know, could come down for a lunch if you want to host a meeting, if you want to host events like a wedding, a graduation, or a party. I just actually hosted a tea party here on Sunday. Let me tell you, it was quite fabulous. My second sponsor is none other than Paul Anderson from Paul Anderson Photography. Please connect with him for all your photography needs. And if you are looking to be a sponsor of the Sipping Tea with Suzanne show, please connect with me at Suzanne@positivelysuzanne.com. All right, so I already talked on the hour that it is International Women's Day and it's Women History Month. So I have 5 phenomenal women lined up for the month of March. But I was so excited to welcome you to the show. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm super happy to be here.
Yes. Okay, so first of all, I do a lot of things, and folks are always saying to me, like, Suzanne, you do a lot of things, but you do a lot of things.
Yes. Yes and no. Yes and no.
Yes and no. But so we're going to talk about all that. So you're an author?
Yes, by default, yeah.
Yes, you're a coach?
I am.
Yes, you host a podcast?
I do.
Yes.
You're like not proving my point.
Right. You're a wife and a mother.
I am, happily.
Yes, you are on the committee of a couple different places in the community of Worcester.
I am.
Yes, you're very involved in the community.
Yep.
Okay.
Shout out to the WAM, the YPWA, Mechanics Hall, WICN, and the Shine Board.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's just 5, and I'm sure there's more. So we'll figure that out by the time the end of the show. And you were recently appointed as the Director of Communication for Senator Robin Kennedy.
I was. So that's my main thing right now.
Like, that's your, that's your corporate bag, right?
Yeah, that's my 9 to 5.
That's your 9 to 5.
I never thought I'd say that again.
I was just going to say that because when we met last year, and we just met last year, FYI.
We met through the campaign at actually the Power of the Purse event through the Women's Initiative. I don't sit on that board. So that's good. But yeah, and she was dressed up and she was beautiful and glamorous. And I was like, can I take a photo of you? She said, hell yeah.
Okay.
And we did like a whole little mini photo shoot in the back on Mechanics. No, it wasn't Mechanics. It was the Mercantile.
Mercantile, yes.
And ever since, we just had like really good energy.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah, you know what though? I got to say to you, thank you so much for that, because you know what? Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not afraid of taking pictures. Like, I'm dressed up. I love dressing up for nobody else but for me. As Paul, I will be making an egg in a gown. If I feel like putting on a gown, I'll put on a gown and make an egg.
I like that.
Cause that's just, And I remember that day when I went to it. I remember like I had on like a skirt. I had on a fascinator. I don't know where I was going, girl.
If you were in New York, you would have blended right in.
Exactly. So like folks that are they either just say, "Oh my God, you're fabulous," or like, "What is up with that chick?" So, but no, you actually came over and you were so nice. You were like, "You look great. Can I take a picture of you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, I didn't say no. I'm like, "Yeah, of course." But I love that, especially today, it being Women's, International Women's Day, to come to another woman and say like, "Hey, I like what you look like. Can I take a picture of you?" Because so many women are threatened when they see another woman looking nice or owning a space, and you're like, "Girl, I don't care." Like, and then I was like, "Yeah." And then we had like a little money photo shoot, and then
we sure did. We talked about your podcast and what you did, and then we realized you did 100 things. I did 100 things. We were like, "Wow, this is amazing."
I know.
At some point, we have to connect, and then we've connected since.
Like we've seen each other, and then so then right after that, like Robin's, you were on Robin's campaign.
I was.
I think you were a social media manager.
Yes, I was her. Basically, what I do now, minus speech writing and all the other stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, And then, but that kind of amped up. So like you were everywhere doing everything. And like I ran into you a couple of events and we just have to take pictures together.
Yeah, every event I do have, I think we have like a good 10 photos.
Yeah.
And I'm this big.
Yeah.
And you're only like this much bigger than me anyway. So it's super cute.
Just
but...
tiny, because it's like I'm literally exactly a foot taller than you.
Right. Right.
And then I have like 4-inch heels.
Right.
That's all.
Oh my goodness. I think it was E for all.
Yeah, we did.
You had this beautiful gown, and I was like, I refuse. You were like, come over here. I was like, no.
Yes.
Because I'm tired of looking like a Smurf every time you post this photo.
Like, you're
and
so
I'm 4
cute.
foot nothing.
You're so cute. You're so cute. Okay, so here's a story, and like you're gonna start crying for me. So like the other day, like I dressed up and I was going somewhere, and Paul happens to have a rental car because some guy crashed into our yard.
Oh my
God.
God.
Girl, whew. But so I don't even know what kind of car it is because I don't pay attention to cars like that. But it's like a Toyota or a Camry or something like that. And like I couldn't get in.
Because of your outfit?
Because I was like that tall.
Oh, you
like,
see?
I couldn't get in the car because I was like, because my hair. And then I had on like a 6-inch heels. And then I had on a dress. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm just not even.
You ever see celebrities and they're going to like the Grammys or the Oscar?
They slide
and
in.
they slide in because they're like, I can't even breathe right now.
Girl, I couldn't even slide in.
You're going to have to finesse it.
I couldn't even slide in. I was
you know what? We're going to blame Paul for liking that tiny car.
I was like, yeah.
He should have known.
Thank you.
You had a lot of hair.
I was like, hair, heels, like just, you know, it was just like I couldn't fit in the car. So, like, you know, that time, like, you know, I was like, oh my God, like if I was your height, then I would like slide right in.
Yeah, I fit anywhere.
Good. Like, I know.
Anywhere.
You know, those little smart cars, like I can't even just like that's anytime you like, it was like, oh my God, I'm shorter than her. I think like, well, haha, you can't fit in tiny cars.
Well, I never thought about it that way, but now that I feel like I have a little bit of an advantage, I'm going to run with it.
You do. I'm going to run with that. But yeah. So then you started, like the Robin's campaign kind of amped up and like, you know, you were everywhere doing everything. And I was so proud, you know, when she won and like the staff and Robin was on last week and she shouted out.
Yes. I was just going to say big shout outs to Senator Kennedy, who's at another event. Oh. And once I leave here, I will go meet her at the second event. And
no, thank you. I appreciate you like popping in here because I know that there's a couple of events tonight happening in Worcester, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on this.
Yes.
And then just come here like.
That's what I do. I just look at the day, and my husband knows. That he hates the morning because I'm like, let me tell you about today, and
tell me.
I run down the list of things we have to do or I have to be at or whatever, and he's like, I'm already overwhelmed, and it's like 8 in the morning, and I just kind of take it. You know, meeting by meeting, event by event, whatever I did before no longer matters, and now I'm here, so I'm 100%. And then when I leave, I'm 100% at the next event. So and then I just kind of recap at the end of the day, and I'm like, holy crap, what a day.
But you do what you got to do.
So, but I enjoy it.
I know.
So it doesn't feel like work.
I know. Like I wish.
Good.
I wish I wasn't an extrovert sometimes because it's like, you know, like, okay, like, but I enjoy going to places and doing things. And like, if I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to enjoy it to the fullest. So I'm not going to go and sit in the corner and just be like, oh, when is this over?
Yeah, I try to not put myself in positions like that because I'm the quick one, you know, it kind of says everything on my face.
It does. Like, you know, like you're like Dorothy from the Golden Girls.
Right. Like my face changes real quick.
Like your face tells you like.
I love her.
Yes, I do too. Like I'm a Dorothy. Like I will say that. Like I will definitely say that I'm a Dorothy. So normally I ask about this, you know, towards the end. But like, how do you do self-care though? Because like for me, I have to be very intentional about it, right?
Yeah.
So you doing so much, how do you do self-care? I know you mentioned that you have your, you know, your husband, who I know is a phenomenal photographer also, by the way, IG Worcester. So if you're not following him, please follow him.
Yeah, and in fact, follow his personal photography, which has nothing to do with Worcester and everything to do about him. And it's Jamie Flores Photography. So you can find that one everywhere.
Is it just pictures of you?
I wish, but no. Those are hard to come by. Some nerve.
Okay, Grant, listen, you have a personal photographer. Like, you should have catalogs of pictures.
I know I should, but I know I'm such a pain in the you know what.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't like that one. Do it again.
Oh, okay.
I don't like that one either. Do it again.
Okay.
Also, why didn't you tell me my hair was messed up? Do it again.
Jeez. Okay. So here's a secret. Like I personally, I don't take bad pictures.
Oh, I like that.
So I don't.
I do.
I tell no, but you don't. Tell yourself that you don't, because like the minute you say that and accept it, your pictures look better. So I'm
That's
just
true.
like, I don't take bad pictures. And I'm like,
I'm starting to do that. So I've never been good in front of the camera. Like I can speak to hundreds and thousands of people at once. I don't get nervous, but like a one-on-one photo shoot, I'm like, chop my hands off. I don't even know what to do with these things. You know what I mean? Like I don't know where to put them. I don't know how to stand. Am I smiling? Are my eyes closed? Are they open? Like,
oh, good God.
I can't. It's a lot of anxiety.
Don't think.
But like in an event,
Don't think.
I
don't
can
think.
I can do all of it.
Just be.
I try, but
Don't think. I'm like, AI's like, I don't take bad pictures, and and I always assume that I'm on stage.
Oh, I like that.
Always assume that the camera's always on. So Suzanne is born ready. Listen, you get that camera ready. I'm like, I'm just like, because somebody's always taking a picture.
That's very true. And that's why I'm learning. So I'm learning like certain facial expressions I try to stay away from because I know subconsciously I do them.
Yeah.
So when I'm bored at an event, I make sure that I don't have that Dorothy face on because people are going to be like, oh, look at that one in the
she's
back.
having a bad time or
you
know, whatever.
I always have my dimple out and I'm ready to rock and roll.
Just do it.
But,
like, that's it. But then start to actually believe it. Like, I don't take bad pictures. I love taking pictures. That I'm always on. Like, hello, Dolly, and just go.
I'm going to think of you next time I have to do
it. Yeah. And then I promise you, your pictures will stop being bad because it's in your head.
I bet. I know it is. And we're always like our biggest critic is ourselves, right?
Yeah,
so what others may not see, we're going to see, and we're going to hyper emphasize that. But I think you're 100% correct.
I don't even worry
about it. See that picture that just came through? My eyes are closed.
Yeah.
I 100%.
Like, listen, I don't worry about it. I just don't like, it is what it is. I don't worry about my flaws. I don't focus on them. They are what they are. And, whatever. That's it. So, but let's get back to how do you self-care?
Okay. So self-care has been something that I think that I have grown into. So I I'm from New York, from Brooklyn. And
Brooklyn!
Yeah, Brooklyn stand up. But self-care wasn't really part of like the regime. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that we talked about. It's not something that's part of my household growing up. I come from a Latin household where you hustle to get what you want.
Girl, I'm from Jamaica. Ain't no self-care.
So you get it. There's no self-care. Self-care is actually seen as laziness, as weak, as selfish in some sort of way because you are doing something for yourself outside of your family and everything else that you have to take care of. And so over the years, and I've done this through my husband, thankfully, he's keeping me sane. So that's one piece in where he's taught me to go outside and be outside more and step away from things when I become overwhelmed instead of, banging my head on the wall and still going to try to get it done. I do often do that. Even this week alone, I was just talking to you before the show and I mentioned I had these 2 big things I had to do and I said, I'm just going to go to bed and I'll wake up early and I'll do it tomorrow. I feel like 10 years ago, I'd have been like, I'm going to break night and I'm going to get this done. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to answer 100 emails. And it's like, it's so unrealistic. And it's also damaging to you yourself. And at the end of the day, your productivity. Your productivity goes down. Your work ethics goes down. And you start to resent the things that you do, even though you initially started with like a passion for it. And so I think that stepping away has been one thing. The other thing my husband has kind of like geared me towards is just being outside and being in nature and going on hikes and doing all of those great things and making sure that, there's a piece of nature somewhere throughout the day or at least throughout the week. I don't like physical activity.
Girl.
Like at all. But I will go on a nice...
Say less, boo. Right. Say less.
Exactly. I'd rather be doing this, eating something for sure.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, I've learned that the hikes are great. And I'm always one of those people, like I complain in the car getting there. Why am I doing this? I have so much work to do. Then I'm also at the very end. I'm like, wow, look at this beautiful view. I'm so happy I came. And I can just tell he's giving me side eye because he's always like, you didn't even want to come. But I'm slowly integrating that. And I think that throughout my career as a digital media strategist, I've learned that the business consumes you. And so, we talk about not having a boss and being our own boss, but really our clients are our boss.
They are.
And they're demanding, needy, and very temperamental, and often challenged like children, right? And so you got to rattle them in. And so through that, I've learned that not only does that cause burnout and increased stress, and that's where the coaching piece comes in, it's also bad for all kinds of health issues and your overall well-being and your social economics and all of the determinants that decide how well of a quality life that we lead. And so through that, that's kind of where the coaching comes into play, and I've started to fall back on taking on clients that are in the digital media space. I actually only have 2 that I've kept because they're dear to me.
Oh, wonderful.
And I've kind of released everyone else so I can focus on that practice and making sure that I'm not just talking about it, I'm being about it. So.
Oh, okay. I love that. No, I mean, I will say though, like for the last couple of episodes, like including Robin and everybody else who's been telling me about how wonderful hiking is. God, I'm not going to do it. I'm not trying to do it.
Well, let me tell you, you can't go in heels.
But no. Oh, I can't do it with heels?
No.
I'm out.
You can't go in sparkly shoes.
Okay.
I've learned over the years. I've learned.
Listen.
I used to show up like,
in heels?
Yeah, and Jamie's like, let's go for a hike. And I'm like, I'm ready.
Okay.
This is my outfit. And Jamie's like, where are you going?
Okay.
I'm like, this hike, right?
Okay.
He's like, you look like an idiot. I was like, yeah, I do look like an idiot. So now he's like, all right, I know I need sneakers. I know I need this. So I've learned. I've adapted.
Okay. I will buy myself a sneakers this year.
At least.
Because everybody's telling me. I actually have a high heel sneakers. That was from way back in the day.
Stop it. I was going to say, that's old school.
Old school. That was from way back in the day. I mean, I wouldn't wear it now. But listen, back in the day, that's when Paul and I just started dating. You could not tell me I wasn't cute in those high heel sneakers. Jesus. Now I wouldn't wear it, but I'm just saying it was cute.
I remember having those stiletto Timberlands. Do you remember?
Oh, I do remember that.
That Milano came out with?
Oh, for the love
I had
of
a pair.
goodness sake.
I
Yeah.
cannot be seen in those right now.
I'm all set. There's certain things that, like, okay, we didn't take bad pictures, but there's certain things we gotta put.
We're not gonna bring up.
We will not be wearing it. Like, I'm grateful that social media wasn't so big when we were growing up.
I agree.
Because, like, I look back at some pictures, and girl, let me tell you, I look fine. And then I look back, I was like, oh my God. Just like.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, So,
I know.
yeah, okay. So I will commit, like, God is trying to send me a message because everybody's talking about the hiking. And
I have to say, I wouldn't say it if it wasn't working. It truly is.
Okay.
Like, it gives me a sense of clarity.
Okay.
And I know, and I mean, we take the kids, the baby loves it. The baby, we just went a few weeks ago, and the baby was the one that initiated it.
Okay.
And she said, let's go hiking. And we did. It took much longer with her. But it was a good time. And I think just being out, it just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Scientifically, it's been proven, forest bathing, and all of those things are healthy.
So you're throwing that healthy thing in it.
Yeah,
okay,
check
fine.
it out.
Okay, so I know that, and not to, release anything. So the group that I'm a part of, Sister Circle, I know that they're working in partnership with some other organization and, planning a hike and something like that. So I was just trying to figure out how it could be just at the end of the line, just handing out water.
No, you can't do that. That's going to be miserable. Just waiting for people to show up?
No, girl, no. But
in your stilettos.
In my stilettos, right? It's like, all right, I'm working on it, God. I hear you, God. Maybe I'll start hiking.
You just got to do it once.
Okay, just once.
Just do it once.
Okay.
Make sure the view is good.
Okay, yeah, no. I love
if the view is bad, then you're going to be like,
I love nature. So I like, no. Let's rephrase. I like looking at nature like when I'm in a car. So
yeah, I can.
I'm going to see if I can like looking at nature when I'm hiking. But
you will. You know why? Because you're going to realize what comes to me a lot is the fact that we're so insignificant.
Okay.
Right? And so it centers you and it shows you like, wow, I'm really not that big. All day I walk around and I'm this big bad person and I have all this stuff I got going on and I can do anything. I'm invincible. And then you get outside and you look at this mountain, you're like, okay, I'm not shit. Or I'm sorry, I'm not anything. I don't know if you can cut that part out. I'm so sorry.
No, we're live, girl. I'm sorry. It's fine. I mean, it's the first on the show.
Leave it up to me. I hope Jen's watching.
I love it because it's Women's History Month.
I'm sorry.
And my quote today is, may you have the space to be exactly who you are.
Well, that's me.
Yeah, let's say you have the freedom and the space. So do you, boo? Do you? Just like, yeah.
I appreciate it.
Like, no, do you? All right, I'll look into the hiking and that whole situation.
Do that.
I am. I really do. My kids like outside, so I've tried and to like it, but it's whatever. In terms of like looking at nature and just really seeing where you stand in the universe, I really do like that. Like a lot of times, like I'm driving along in the car, it's a bad time to do it. But like if you're driving along in the car and you see like the clouds, like the formation is just like so beautiful. It's distracted because I'm like staring at it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm looking.
Make sure you're on the passenger side.
Thank you.
Don't daydream while you're driving.
I am working, but it's so beautiful.
It
so
is.
I've pulled over sometimes just to stare and just in awe, like at God's creation. So
yeah, it really humbles you. It really does send to you. I mean, I've been doing a few meditations here and there, and that's one of my favorite ones is always the visualization of a mountain and then taking yourself from the top and then zooming out and zooming out and zooming out until you see the full mountain. And then by the time you get to that point, you feel so like clear and you feel so balanced. You're like, wow, those could be, and sometimes you can look at it as those are my problems and look how far they are and look how, you know, out of reach they are. I'm here in this moment, I'm present.
No,
so
I love that.
I think that's one big self-care. And I think the other one is also like, I'm big on just making sure my day is how I want it to be. And so formulating like your perfect day, making sure that for me, and it's different for everyone, but for me, it's always like a balance between doing stuff with the kids, hanging out with my husband, going to lunch or doing something cute, and then doing work because I love what I do, right? So if I can get a day in where all of that happens, which it just happened the other day, we ended the night at Apex and we were bowling.
Oh, wow.
I was like, this is great. Also, I was exhausted because it was 11 p.m. and the oldness kicked in. I was like, I got to go to bed. But I looked back the next morning and I was just in such a good mood. Because I was like, I was able to spend time with my kids, hang out. I got all my meetings done. Some work didn't get done, but that's okay. I, spent time with my husband and I said, if everything else went away, this is all I want.
No, that's awesome. You do have to be intentional about that. I mean, I haven't been to Apex. My kids, it's so loud and noisy, but
just drop them off.
Like I've taken them, did like a birthday party thing there, but I am also very intentional in terms of how I spend my day. And I think over the last 2 weeks, there's just been so much going on in my life, just in terms of, my husband's sick and my husband fell and was with a cane and sorry baby, I'm putting your business out there.
I'm sorry.
And
it's a little late now. Like, it's live, I heard. I'd say something else, but I can't.
And then it's somebody crashed into our fence and you know what, and like just thinking about that, it was my daughter's birthday and it was so close to the house. Like if we hadn't put that fence up years ago, it would have like hit the foundation of the house and that house could have collapsed. So, just thinking about the fragility of life, like what if the fence wasn't there and it hit that house? Would we have even gotten up that day? Because it's like, that's where I normally sit and watch TV and fall asleep, and then just dealing with that. And then I've been missing my dad, his birthday's next month. And things have been busy for me. I've been getting some clients, and I'm doing a couple of different conferences this year. So like there's all these things that like are happening and like sometimes I pretend I'm not human, but I am. And I'm like, okay. So I have been very intentional in like de-stressing and showing myself grace to say, okay, you don't have to finish this. Like you can just let that go. And Paul and I, we can just stay up and watch, Creed 3 for the intellectual conversations that's in that show.
Listen, there's a lot of intellectual conversation in that movie, is what I'm saying. I'll watch it again with you.
Yeah, girl.
Just for the peace of mind.
Yes, I haven't seen it yet, but
okay. I'll take you.
I've seen the preview, and I'm just really caught by just the intellectual discourse.
I agree with it.
That,
Listen,
Michael and Jonathan have with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, their intellects.
I think they should be interviewed, and I want to be here for it. Is what
girl.
I'm saying. Okay? And just lock that door.
we could absolutely interview them.
I love that. I love that.
Oh my God. But yeah, so I've been,
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Actually, I watched it.
oh,
That was one of those nights, and I said, honey, we should do something tonight.
Yeah.
And my husband,
yeah.
probably out of just the goodness of his heart,
Yeah.
said, Creed 3's out. And I
Yeah.
was like, book it.
Okay.
Because I need to understand the complexities of Black and brown life.
Yeah.
And I can't do that if I don't watch this movie.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I agree.
I'm glad.
I
That was my theory.
And
I
I
got there and I was like, if someone could just pause this,
Yeah.
so I can take notes
Yeah.
and like really take it in,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But
I actually
I'll go
want to
back.
talk to my girls at Sister Circle and see if they really want to go, because I really do think we have to have a really good grasp on the complexities.
Right. I wrote a post about it.
I
wrote a
did
post
you? I
about
have
it.
to go
did.
look
Go
for
check
it
out,
because
go
I
check it out.
really would enjoy to read your intellectual discourse on that.
I did a little bit.
Phenomenon.
There's a little bit.
Okay, so I will talk
Yeah.
to the
Go
Sister
check it
Circle
out.
girls and we'll go check it out, and we'll have a book club meeting about it and just really
I'm in.
discuss it. So
Maybe it's
I'd
a
love
photo
for you to
book
be a
or
part of
something.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just RSVP me.
Okay.
Add it to my calendar. I'm in.
Absolutely will. I think our husbands. I think they bought it.
They got it. Yeah, they know.
I think they bought it.
They
Okay.
know, they
All
know.
right, cool. So don't look directly at them because I know your husband's in the audience too. So tell me, because you said that you were not going back into the corporate sphere. So how did we go from there to here? We love Robin, by the way, but
I don't know.
How did that happen?
How the hell did that happen?
I don't know.
I say that all the time. So, when I was working with her on the campaign, she was a client and it was like normal work for me, right? And where I was doing the creation of social media and, getting the curation of the content and going to events and all that kind of stuff that I normally do for other clients. It was an insane 8 months because I did that and I had 10 other clients.
Wow.
Nothing changed except like my mental sanity. And through it all, the only reason I actually reached out, and normally I don't reach out for clients. It's been word of mouth. I've been very grateful and humbled by that over the last 10, 11 years, I've never really needed to reach out. It's always been like, hey, here's an intro email. I know this person, and everyone's come that way. This is one of the very few times ever that I reached out to Karen Pelletier out at the chamber, and I say, hey, Karen, I know that it seems like you know this person, Robin Kennedy, who's a candidate, and she's running for state senator. And she's like, oh my God, Giselle, I'm so glad you reached out because she needs help.
Okay.
I said, okay, well, maybe we just have a conversation. It'd be nice to work with someone that has like the same beliefs. I don't want to do this for the money. It's not all about any of that. And the first conversation we had, we just kicked it off. And I was like, okay, well, let me know. She's like, oh, no, you're hired.
Oh.
I was like, oh, great.
Oh, okay.
So we started from there
those.
on, and it was such a great campaign, and we ran it, to a T, and it was tight, and it was just honest and authentic. And, I think with my husband, we were at some dinner with Senator Kennedy, which was the candidate at the time, and we had won. So we won the primary, then we won the official election. And she's like, do you want a government job? And I was like,
no.
what? I was like, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
This sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good. But then I walked away like, wait, I would have to change my entire day. Like, I've worked so hard to get back my time.
I know.
And now my time will no longer be mine.
Yeah.
But we had a great conversation. She was like, you do what you do now, and we'll be flexible. You'll be in the district, and you'll have days in the state house. And I gotta say, it's been a really good transition. Doesn't feel
awesome.
like I work for corporate because I refuse. But it's been such a learning process, which I think that's what feeds me right now, is that I'm learning. It's a different space. I'm constantly learning about legislation and policy and how to do certain things and things that are not in my normal space.
Yeah.
That I'm soaking it all in, and I'm loving it. So
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
No, and I love that you did that because, one of the things I wrote about, I don't even know, a couple weeks ago, you're allowed to change your mind because it's your life. You discuss it with your partner, do what you do, because last year you could not fathom being in this role. That wasn't the goal, but something happened and you change your mind. And I think a lot of times, especially us as women, we feel like if we dig, it's go big or go home. If we go home, we stay home. If we go big, we stay big. No, honey. do what you got to do. You have to do what's right for you at the time. And you did, you stepped out and you found success, but you got this opportunity. It has a lot to do with Robin because you like her as a person. And, you know, I mean, she's obviously, great. Girl, you could be working for, well, I'm not going to call any name because that's not that type of show. So, but there's certain politicians, I would not be happy with you if you worked for them.
Oh, no. That wouldn't happen.
So I know it wouldn't. So, but no, it does have a lot to do with the person, but being able to just step back into that sphere, because it's like, even with me, like I'm out there, I'm doing the entrepreneurism thing. And, you know, it's funny, like you said, like a year ago, a lot of folks didn't like know my name, but now like folks know my name, and like folks are reaching out to me in terms of collaborations, and I'm saying no for some weird things. And,
stay away from them.
Like, I mean, like you've got to, like, if you pay attention to anything that I do, it's all about positive and empowerment and all of that. So like anything crazy, like just bye-bye. So bye. And so it's like folks are reaching out now, and it's like I got, like, now that I'm not looking, I'm getting a lot more opportunities. And
that's how it works.
When I was looking, girl, before I made the decision to become an entrepreneur, like I couldn't get what I wanted
because you weren't there yet.
Exactly.
I do believe in the fact that what comes to you at the time that you're ready for it.
It needs to be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you said, not even a year, 2 years ago, I would have said, no, I would never step foot into like another office space.
Yeah.
But also now that I've become my own person and I've grown to the extent that I do have a certain tolerance for certain things, I know what I don't like, I know what I do like, I know what I will accept as salary, I know what I won't accept as salary. I know that certain things are important to me, so staying on these boards. Those were the first conversations I had with the senator. Was, you know, what does it look like? What does the podcast look like? Is that something that I can no longer do because that's a joint venture between myself and Jennifer? So if I have to reinvent who I am, then that's not for me.
Exactly.
And so we've had those conversations. She was just like, no, I'm taking you because I want you as who you are. And that gave me a lot of, you know, just, I think, gratitude, but also validation, the fact that I've done this so long by myself.
Yeah.
And for a long time. I mean, Karen Pelletier and I, we joke all the time. She has me talk for the chamber at events and stuff. And I'm always like, I met Karen when I was like 20 pounds like thinner. And she's always like, me too. You know, like, I was like, no lie. My daughter is now going to be 16 years old. She must have been like 8.
Yeah.
7 or 8 years old, and I drag her to these pop-ups I was doing. My husband was working full-time, and it was just me and the kids, and I dragged them everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, just so I can say, I met a new person today. I spoke to a new person, and I mean, it was a lot of hard work, but I feel like it got me to a space in where I developed a really good grasp of who I am. And I think if I have to look back and go through all of that again, I 100% would do it all over again. Okay. Like, I couldn't do it now and start now. I needed to do it when the time was right. And that allowed me to homeschool my kids. Now we'll start with the baby again, which I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll start all over again with Miss Shaya. But it has really allowed me to focus on what was important. And what was important, which I thought at the time was income, money, success. And it wasn't. It was a real definition of it, which was regaining my time and creating a lifestyle that was customized to me and what I like. And so having the time to wake up whatever time I want to wake up and going to bed and just kind of having a really good flow of the day that speaks to who I am that's my version of success. And, you know, being able to go on vacations and have money to do that. So
yeah, I know money's good. I'm not going to lie to you, as much as
oh yeah, Commonwealth continue to pay me for the work that I do.
Listen, money's good. I ain't gonna lie to you.
That's what I'm saying.
Listen, you know, there's like money's not the root of all evil. Like the love of money, I think it's. But you need money to survive.
But you do need money.
The supermarket, like gas,
don't
like
get me started.
Anything is so expensive. But you know, it's good that you have developed this sense of self, like in who you are. And you know, like you said, a couple of years ago, maybe not, but now that you can, because you have a very strong sense of who you are. And I thought I had a strong sense of who I am, but even after leaving, I've leaned more into who I am as a person, and I'm fully authentically me. So it's kind of like, you know, you're in spaces like, girl, I'm a lot, and I'm okay with it. And in certain environment, all of this can scare and intimidate a few folks. Yeah. So stepping out of that sphere and like just being positively Suzanne, and fully authentic me. So anybody that comes after me for any role is that this is who they're getting. You know, no watered down version, no, you know, it's just, I'm comfortable in my skin and who I am. So if you had to like pull back from, you know, like the podcast, I have to pull back from talking about the things that I'm passionate about, like that's just not going to be the role for you or going to be the role for me. You know, I got a email the other day, someone was like sending a thing out about this job, and it's funny, it was good money. It was like 1 to 75, and I'm like, okay. And it was like, all right. But then, like I was talking about it with Paul, but I would have to give up my days and work 5 days, like basically leave my house again at 6 a.m. and not be back home till like 7.
No, I'm all set.
I'm good.
No, thank you.
I'm good. I mean, if it was like $1 million, maybe I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, you're gonna have to direct deposit me in advance. Thank you. I'm gonna need some proof of that.
Like, I know, right?
But I couldn't do it. I say it all the time. So one of my first times where I was out on my own and I did a panel talk. I've done a ton of panel talks over the years that I can't even remember specific ones. Like I'm like, no, I wasn't there, and I'll see pictures. I'm like, oh, I was there.
Oh, you were there.
I was actually a talker. And so one of the first ones I did was for the Worcesterpreneur. Something like that.
Yeah, it is.
Chamber,
I was there.
Right?
Like they do it at Holy Cross. I was there last year. It was my first event when I stepped out, when I quit my job.
So that was one of my first speaking events as well, and they did it at Worcester State. At the time, I wasn't well connected with the community. So how I became well connected was I used to work for corporate. I worked for property management companies, and you know, I went from Worcester all the way to Concord, and the one in Concord actually was going through like a merger with another company. That merger turned into an acquisition, and I got laid off with my entire like marketing team. So we got, you know, the boot. I came home, I spoke to my husband, I pulled out my daughter from school like literally the same day, and we started homeschooling. So it was kind of like everything happened really quickly all at once, and then we just kind of said, oh my God, what do we do? Like we gotta get out of this.
Yeah.
And so my husband had stated that there was a new newspaper coming out. And if you know me, then you know I love to write. I love making sure my voice is heard. And there was a new newspaper called the Worcester Sun at the time, which is no longer around, unfortunately.
Okay.
And I reached out and said, I'd love to write for you guys. Can I do that? They said, yeah, do that. I then met someone at the chamber. That I met someone else. And every little connection brought me back to the chamber. And so that's why I always say I'm grateful for them, specifically Karen. And so through all of that, Karen said, I'd love for you to talk about your experience from going from corporate to what you're doing now. And I sat on this panel, and it was Ariella, who owns Altia's, on one side, myself, who was like a young buck, and then I had Sue Mailman, school committee Sue Mailman.
I know them, yeah.
On my other side. And so when I sat there, I was like, oh, I felt like, you know, I don't belong here. And I started talking, and I just kind of, you know, was me, and I was very honest about what I did. And I said, I think one thing that stood out was, you know, I knew that I was in the right space because I no longer felt those pressures I did at work. And so I knew that this was it. This was going to be my life, was being an entrepreneur. And I remember that Sue told me, and I always bring it up to her, I'm like, do you remember what you told me? Because like we didn't talk for years until the campaign, and we reconnected. And to your point, which was walking into a space and being the only brown person has always been my thing, right? And I'm like, I was young at the time, was a young woman, Latina, curly hair, lots of hair like you, when it's not blow dried, and just like walking into a space and where, no, I didn't know like the formal greetings. I didn't know this person, I didn't know that person. I was very new to myself. And, you know, I said like, I don't like showing up to places and where it's just me because I feel out of place, and I feel like everyone's looking at me like you don't belong, and it didn't feel comfortable. I remember Sue Mailman told me, the reason it's you is because you have to go through this, so the next person, you open the door for the next person, and you bring in everybody with you, right? And I always thought like, why would I have to go through that? But then you think about it, it's like, well, no, we're having these conversations about how representation matters, and that very well is the case, right? We have these boards, and they're not diversified. There's a lot of ordinances trying to go into place about diversifying boards and decreasing the financial barrier to get onto a board, right? Because you have to donate money and all these things, and there's a financial connection half the time. And the reasons they exist is because they want to keep people that look like you and me out of the room, out of making decisions, out of being part of the conversation. And so ever since Sue said that to me way back when, like, I don't even know, like 2013 probably, almost 10 years ago, it stood in my head that I no longer will feel uncomfortable. Every room I walk in, I can be the only Latina, I can be the only woman, I can be whatever, but I'm gonna walk here and I'm gonna show my presence and I make sure that I'm heard and I make sure that you see me, because whatever I do in this space will be good for the next person, and I will continue to open the door for other people to come into this space. So to your point, I think when you walk in authentically, you're doing yourself the greatest service you possibly can, because that's how you open the door for other people. And I think that's the goal. There's no other way we can
get ahead,
empower our people, get ahead, get generational wealth if we are just holding out for ourselves.
We can't. No,
other cultures are already doing that.
No, you know what? And the funny thing is, and Kamala Harris had said something similar, where her mom used to say to her, "You might be the first one through the door, but make sure you're not the last one." And I'm sure I'm messing up the quote somehow, but it was like, yeah, I mean, that's what she said. But it was along that vein where, like when you get through that door, make sure that you're not the only one in there. Because you're right, if you don't have that strong sense of self and you're the only one in there, I will tell you, through microaggression and all these things, you will feel like you don't belong, and then you end up leaving, and then some boards can say, well, we gave them a chance, and whatever.
They weren't a good fit.
Exactly, not a good fit. So that's the excuse for not doing that. I remember, when I've been a district manager for a couple different spaces, and I was the only one that looked like me. And then I started hiring, folks that looked like me, because there was folks that looked like other folks. And I remember somebody reached out to me once, and she was like, "Oh, I remember." She's like, "I used to go into your store, and it was but now there's colored people there." I'm like, "Oh my God." And she's like, she is black, so she was trying to be funny, but she was just saying that it was so colorful, because she was like, when I used to go there before, it just wasn't diverse. It was just cookie cutter. It was just one, class of people, one race, and, practically like one gender too. Like everybody was all perky, blonde hair, blue eyes. And, I was very intentional when I hired to make sure that I interviewed everybody. I had blacks, I had Hispanics, I had Asians, I had people come in, because I felt like the store needed to represent the community that it was in. And this person was like, I was felt funny going in there, because I felt like they were watching me, and whatever. And I'm not saying they didn't stop, but what happens, right? But to walk into a store in your neighborhood and see yourself, to watch a show on TV and see yourself, to watch a news program and see yourself, to watch a press briefing from the White House and see a black woman with...
Yes, big shout out to this press secretary, by the way.
It's like she's Janine St. Pierre.
Yes.
I
love her.
Representation matters. And for me, I always love when I see women that are in spaces and doing their thing. And I'm always intentional about girl, do your thing. I'm like,
yeah, there's plenty of room for everyone to grow in whatever capacity they want to grow.
Doesn't matter. So no, I love that. So for now, I love that you now know who you are.
Yes.
And when you...
I'm Giselle.
You were Giselle Knowles Carter. No, that's the other Giselle, all right? That's the other Giselle. But anyway, you know where you are, who you are. You're comfortable stepping into these spaces and, just going into it. So you mentioned that you write, you used to write for, I never heard of it, sorry. And
that's okay. They were around for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
When I was between working, going to school, my dad, the hubby, the kids, and all of that, and when you work that 9 to 5, it's the 40 hours are longer.
So yes, so that's why I was never really part of the community. I mean, even to this day, I always say I'm from New York. People will say, "Where are you from?" New York. I never say Worcester.
How long you been here?
It doesn't matter how long I've been here.
I'm asking again though. What?
Maybe under 20 years.
Girl, you from the woo. You from the woo.
No.
You from the woo.
It holds a special place in my heart, but I'm not from here, is what I'm saying.
Yo, New Yorkers be New Yorking.
I'll have dementia, and I'll be like,
it's okay. Like, I saw Madagascar. Like,
you know what it is.
We're from New York.
That's right.
We're New Yorkers. I saw the movie. Like, that kid was obsessed with it. I saw it 3 to 4 times a day. Like,
I love that.
So it's okay.
I love that.
Like, New Yorker, y'all got that special sense of pride.
There's this something, and it's funny because when I moved here, I was, like I said, I was working corporate, so I didn't have time for hanging out in the community. I didn't know anything about Worcester, but I used to come to Worcester. I've come here all my life because my cousins live here, and their mothers moved from New York back in the 80s, so I used to come here and just visit, you know, when you visit family. And so I always was like, oh, I like to come to visit, but I will never live here, like, ill, right? And fast forward, here I am, promoting Worcester, like, come move here.
Come move to Worcester.
So it's a weird space, but also when I first moved here, I didn't have the time, right? And so after I got laid off and after I started meeting people through the writing and I was interviewing, and I really was like, wow, there's really a lot more to Worcester than I initially thought. And I think that that's the case everywhere, right? And it's almost like the case with everything. Like people look at, let's say, Latinas, and they think of you in a certain stereotype because that's as much as they've been able to get in, right? They've been exposed to just that much.
Exactly.
They think of Black people in a certain way because that's the amount of exposure they've had. And if they were able to kind of really delve into that, then they'll realize that there is multi-dimensions of everything, of everyone, of every location you visit. And so it kind of, you know, we've stayed here. And I say every once in a while, I'm like, honey, why do we live here? Maybe 3 times a day or something, but I'm always like, why do we live here? And he just like, you like it here. You know you like it here.
Yeah, I do too. Like, I mean, I denied it for a long time too, like, cause like,
I'm gonna continue to deny it, is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. He don't care. He knows you're moving. Like, you're not moving. Like, I say the same thing. Like, during the snowstorm, when it gets really cold, I'm like, I'm done. I'm moving.
No, that's when I love it.
But really?
That's what I love it.
I mean,
I thrive for it. I'm like, snow
I don't
day.
shovel snow, but like, I don't really like the driving in the snow.
Yeah, no, I love that.
I do not. So yeah, after high school, I even moved away, and then I came back, and like, I low-key love it.
I mean, you're saying a lot right now that I'm not gonna say, but.
Okay. I'll say it for the both of us.
Okay, you
like, there's a lot. Like, I like going around in Worcester and, you know, like doing different things, like checking out the different restaurants. And it's amazing, like, since I left my job and started like going to different places, like the things that I didn't know about Worcester, but like I thought I knew, but like the things like I didn't know about Worcester, the amount of people that I've met, like I run into people at places and like folks know me, and you know, like folks that know me on social media. And they'll be like, oh, like, you're Suzanne. Like, I went to an event the other day, and this, you know, this older Caucasian gentleman came up to me, and he was like, oh, I know that voice. I know that voice. And I'm like, hey. And I'm genuinely don't know him. And he was like, oh, I listened to your podcast. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. And he was like, yeah, that's your positivity, Suzanne. I
love that.
But like, yeah, no, it was really nice. You know.
I think that's, okay, so I'll agree slightly that there's a sense of Worcester that I do love, and that I would never have gotten in New York.
Girl, no.
And that is the ability to build, right? And so I have been able over the years to build a brand that's myself.
Yeah.
I've had, you know, a studio that we had, myself and my husband, photography co-working studio that we had for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
My daughter was able to open a dog shop. We closed that because of the pandemic. But nothing has been almost impossible, right? Like, I felt like here there is a little bit more opportunity because it's like a city, but it's kind of not. That if you just call the right people, you know the right process, then you can kind of navigate it. Where I think about it all the time, I'm like, I don't know how I would do any of this in New York. I would just be outside like those guys in the corner, like, do you guys need someone? You need some help? Like, I don't even know who to call. I don't know where the chamber is.
Like, I know. New York
here is like much different. Like this, even the State House.
It's weird.
Has a value, right? You talk about
weird.
Right. You think about people in like DC.
Yeah.
And they refer to Beacon Hill. Yeah. And I was saying the other day to myself, what do they call like our State House in New York? And I was like, do we even have a State House? Like, I don't know. So even on that side,
I don't know.
There's like a weird dynamic in where it's very disconnected. Whereas here, it's easier to navigate, I think, and just be able to, if you wanted to build. Yeah. I do truly think that you could build here much easier than in Brooklyn.
You can, but and then the weird thing is because there's so much happening in New York, like in Manhattan, that little spot, like there's so much happening there, right? So you would think that would be easier, but no.
No, because there's like 150,000 Giselles.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I mean, girl, there's only one
There's
Giselle.
one me, but
like,
you know what I mean.
But you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, Lord, and there's always somebody who's willing to go do a little crazier and like, whatever. So no, I would like the opportunity to get picked up and driven to New York to do fabulous things. Yeah. And then driven back to Worcester to live.
Okay, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. I say all the time, I know my kids are not built for New York. Yeah. So we'll never move back. Yeah. So, unless it's Jamie and I were retired, but we'll never move back.
So I like New York for that. Like I like going to see plays on Broadways and stuff like that.
Stuff to eat.
Yes, like shopping and all of that. Yeah. But I couldn't live especially in Manhattan area there, like the drive-in, the parking, it's just insanity.
I know, my husband's always like, it is so loud here. And I'm like, welcome to the jungle. This is how you sleep. For a long time, I moved from Brooklyn, I moved over to Long Island, right? Yeah. So when you're from the city, your parents' goal is always to get out of the city. Get out, That's the level up. And we moved to Long Island, and for the first month, I was my eyes were red and cracked. I was like, I can't sleep here. Yeah. And my mom's like, why not? I sleep fine. I'm like, there's no noise. There's no ambulance. There's no, no one's screaming outside. Yeah. No one's honking. How do people sleep here? And now, at my age, here in quiet Worcester, if an ambulance passes by, I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding. Do they know that it is 10 o'clock right now? I'm like, Jesus.
When did we become our parents?
I don't know, but it happened fast.
Listen, so I follow this guy on social media. I don't know how I just started following him. And then he just basically walks out of his house and he has words next to him.
Yes, he's always drinking something?
Yes, he's always drinking something with
I don't know his name, but I know you're talking about.
I have no idea how he popped up on my page. And the other day he said, when he was a kid and his parents used to send him to bed at 9 o'clock and he used to be upset. Now he's an adult, turn out his bedtime is 9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we slowly become our parents, Lord. But you know what, though? We say that all the time. It's okay. I will say that. New Yorkers, they have this sense of pride, do or die. They never let it go, which is great. No, be proud in that. I mean, I'm the same.
But I would want that for every city, you should. Right? I want that for people from Worcester to be I'm from Worcester, born and raised, and that's what it is, and be proud of that. Yeah. I know New Yorkers we're probably more obnoxious about it. A little bit. Yes. But I think that should be a pride that we all carry, despite where we come from. Jamaica, it doesn't matter. You should be proud of where you come from because without that, you're not who you are.
Listen, I think Jamaica has the best beaches. I don't care what anybody says.
There you go.
Jamaica has the best beaches, the best fruits, the best mangoes,
mango.
The best cooking. The best season, and I know I have a Trini in the audience be looking at me, and then I'm vegan, and I don't care. We have the best jerk chicken. We got the best rice and peas and all of that. But anyway,
listen, that's how you gotta be.
So I'm just saying. I'm not looking at a soul. That's all I'm saying. Jamaica has the best Caribbean food.
Okay,
and that's the hill I'm gonna die on.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying? So, have you written anything lately? Yeah.
I've written a lot of speeches for Senator Kennedy.
Yes.
If you've heard any speaking, those are my words.
Okay.
So that's good. Right. So a lot of ghostwriting right now. But I have a Substack. So I haven't written this month, which is crazy, but it's Giselle Rivera-Flores Substack. Okay. And it's called Hispanic-ish. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of talk about, what it's like to be an American, but come with deep roots that are Latin and what that looks like. And, things like, saying, oh, you don't look Puerto Rican. Well, what does that even mean, right? Girl. Or you're not black because you're too light, or no, you're too black because you talk black. Like all these crazy things that we have to deal with, and so that's I kind of talk about those kinds of things on the Substack. Yeah, for sure.
So sure.
Yeah, Substack.com.
Yes. Okay. All right. I will. Yeah, I will do that. So and I know so we mentioned earlier. So you do the podcast with I almost said with Giselle, with Jennifer. And y'all have a good time.
We do. We have a blast.
So what is the podcast about, and how can folks connect to that?
Yeah, so the podcast is called Don't Touch My Podcast, and that came out of the WBJ, that was the Business Journal, posted an article one time just recently last summer called The Inner Circle. And that inner circle was filled with 5 white old men saying that if you weren't in their spaces, then there was very difficult for you to get ahead. That obviously triggered a lot of trauma inside me. And I reached out to the WBJ, thank God for their editor, Brad Kane, and I said, hey, can I write a rebuttal? I did. And I spoke about how it feels to hear those things, but not only that, but show up in these spaces, get access, and still be denied thereafter, and find some other fault that we have. And so it really isn't about just access to space. It's about not just being diverse, like we said, but also being inclusive and listening to people and hearing them out. And so through that, I was like really angry. And I used to, me and Jen voice message every day, and I would just complain. Yo, let me tell you what happened today. And then I would just go off, and she would write back, and she'd be like, let me tell you what happened at work today. This girl said yada, yada, yada. And so one night my husband was listening to us go back and forth. And he's like, you guys should talk about this stuff on a podcast. And I was like, honey, that's crazy. And I texted her crack of dawn. I was like, how about don't touch my podcast? Like, don't touch my hair, don't touch my culture, don't touch my clothes, don't touch my skin. And she's like, let's do it. And so ever since, we've just been talking about like the black and brown complexities that women face, and just as a culture we face that no one really truly understands below the surface, right? Again, everything's surface level, and we kind of dig a little bit deeper. We give stats, we talk about action items, we always have some sort of recommendation. And oftentimes we're laughing because we're like, this is ridiculous. Why are we having this conversation?
It's sad, but girl.
It's crazy.
It is. I'm still like, I can't, like my hair, even every week, like every day, like I go somewhere, sometimes somebody wants to touch my hair.
That's why, and this is trauma, my hair is blow dry.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I get it. And it's like, even the other day, it was like, I went in to grab, because I was feeling some brownies, and I went in to grab some brownies to make, and, like this guy, he was like, oh, let me open the door for your hair. I'm like.
Honestly, whoever said that.
So then I was like, I am one with the universe. I am one with the universe. So I go in, I'm like, so I go and come back. So then when I was coming out, like he stood there and he was like, oh, were you able to fit through the door? And then he was like, he said something like, he was like, is it real?
Yeah, and oftentimes these individuals don't even realize that it's offensive. They're like trying to be cute. They're trying to be funny. And it's like, no, because what makes it offensive, if you're ever in a space, and sometimes it could happen to us, we might say something, we're like, wait, that might have been offensive to that person. If we're thinking that it sounded offensive, it's offensive when you wouldn't say that to anyone else other than this specific person.
Absolutely.
If you're not saying to me what you would say to a white person, then it's offensive. If you're not saying to her what you would say to a white person, it's offensive. If you're not saying to you what you would say to me, it's offensive. It's an easy test. If I have to figure you out, it's offensive.
It is.
Period.
Oh, it was.
Period. Like, ...
But then the kicker was, so when he says, is it real? I said, what? He's like, you're hot.
You're like, I don't even know what kind of backwards ass compliment this is.
I was like, oh, wow.
Oh my God. Paul, go get him. Jesus Christ. It's obnoxious.
It was just like, okay, so wow, everything's okay now.
After you've offended me repeatedly.
Like, so give me a compliment. And I was like,
that's it.
I mean, dude, I own a mirror. I know. I'm just saying, like, don't like offend me and then give me a compliment.
Because he didn't think it was offensive.
Yeah, he didn't.
He thought, what's the thing I can mention? Oh, hair. There's a lot of it. Let's talk about the hair. It's like, you're an idiot. Yeah. You're an idiot.
But anyway, so yeah, well.
Send it to my podcast. That very first episode is called Don't Touch My Hair.
I know, right? Like, I know, because I posted about the crown hat, because I've worn my hair in so many different styles. And, like, especially like at work, and, like people were always like shocked and awed. And I'm just like, dude, it's just hair. And, like I remember I had a customer once, and she was like, she came over to me. It was like a good customer. I liked her. And she was like, can I touch your hair? And I said, no. And she was like, really? I said,
well, can I touch you?
And I said, no. And she was offended. And I was like, So I noticed, like, as she started avoiding me when she came in before, but I was just like, dude, like, don't touch my hair. Like, why? Yeah. Why would you come to me and ask me to touch my hair? And it was braids too.
I don't get it.
Like, is it soft? And I'm like,
what does that mean? Also, there's no such thing as bad hair.
Yeah.
While we're talking about that, I grew up like that. And because my hair is really, really curly. Yeah. It's like very Diana Rossy.
Yeah.
You know, I was always told growing up, oh, you know, tiene pelo malo, bad hair. Oh, you used to have good hair. Now it's bad hair. And it's like, this grows out of my head, and I have no way to determine what it's going to look like. Like, this is it. This is how I woke up. The best I could do is blow dry. And so I went through a lot of trauma. I didn't go to an interview into a professional space with my natural hair ever. Wow. Because I always thought, oh, they're going to say she has bad hair. That's unprofessional. And now I'm like, my hair's crazy. Sometimes I don't even brush it. My mom's like, Giselle, what's going on? I'm like, I didn't have time. This is what it is. Mom, you gave birth to me. This is your fault, this hair.
I love it. I love it. I think when you fully accept your hair, like, I mean, braid it, wig it, brush it, natural, like, whatever. I'll be doing whatever. The only thing I haven't tried yet is the Michael Jordan. But I'm like,
I don't even know what the Michael Jordan is. Is that bald?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, listen.
We're talking about the basketball player.
Like, basketball player. Not I would have said B. I would have said
okay.
Michael B. Jordan.
Okay. Anything to bring him up.
Like, anything. You know, I mean, girl, but I think I could do, like, the dramatic eyes and the big earrings. But anyway.
I couldn't. So, my head is huge. There's no way.
Like, no. But, you know, I think that no matter how far we advance, I think there's always going to be opportunity for folks to just, like, just don't ask the question, because it says, like, if you see something that you don't understand and you don't know the person, you don't know their space, it's kind of like just running up and touching a stranger's pregnant belly. Like, I had people do that, like, when, you know, just don't do it. So, and I think that we have to start thinking of, like you said, you know, if it's going to be offensive to one or the other, it's just like, if you even think for a minute that it could be, then don't voice it.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Like, if I don't know you that well, there's certain things that you shouldn't ask me. And again, like, don't touch my hair. That's just like one thing. And it's just like, it's kind of just like, it's been something that's been going on for so long to this day and age. It just happened to me last week. I mean, I haven't really gone much places this week, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen
again.
It's going to happen
Trust
this
and
week.
Believe, yeah.
So, you know, like, we've just got to do better. So I will definitely check out, because I know I'm going to be on the podcast.
Yes, you are.
Like,
we've been trying to do that for a while, too.
I know.
It's Jen's fault. I hope she's watching.
She's watching, Jen. But yeah, speaking of Jen has a book coming out, and
she does.
Actually, no, I don't want to talk about it because she's going to be on the show.
Just give her a shout out.
Yeah, we're going to give her a shout out, but we're not going to say anything about the book or anything because she's on the show soon.
Man.
But we're just going to give her a little clip. So, like, the book, her book launch is going to be
June 25th.
June 25th.
At the White Room.
At the White Room. You're going to be the
moderator. And I just found that out today. Thanks, Jen.
And I'm going to be the MC.
Details coming soon.
Oh, Lord, details coming soon.
And I wrote the foreword to my lovely Jen.
She did, so I'm so excited, like, women authors. And you guys have the thing at the Village soon. And I know my husband's probably side-eyeing me because I think we're running out of time. And,
all right.
Like, I can
this has been great. It's been fun.
We're not saying bye yet. We still got a minute. I'm used to the side-eye by now, like, right? So I think you guys have a thing coming up at the Village with the 1619 book.
Yeah, so it's actually going to be at the Root and Press on March 22nd. Okay. We are trying to see if we can actually showcase. There's so the 1619 project is a massive project. And it's not coming to me right now, the author's name, and I apologize. I don't
Nicole Jones.
Thank you. I didn't want to butcher it. That's disrespectful.
That's okay.
And so there is such a curriculum around it. There is after-school curriculum. There is actual curriculum in schools. There is homeschooling curriculum for you to teach your children. There is a kids version of the book, which I have at home as well. And we would love to do the Hulu series and showcase it somewhere. We thought the Village would be a great place for that.
Absolutely.
And so, Parlay, if you're listening, that's why we want to reach out. But yeah, and so on the 22nd, we're hosting a book club at Root and Press here over by Worcester State. And we're just going to discuss it and, you know, be angry for a little bit and then kind of let it go.
It's good. You know what? Listen, we see what's happening in Florida with them, you know, banning African-American studies, you know, Black studies, things like that. The 1619 Project is a big part of that. It's on Hulu. I mean, I follow her on social media. I read her things. I have the book and, you know, things like that. So I think it's important that we continue to have these conversations and, you know, and talk talk about the things that we are still struggling with today. Like just in 2023, we're still fighting for equality.
Yeah, on all fronts.
On all fronts.
It's not going anywhere.
As a woman, as a Latina, as a Black woman, as a Black man. I mean, girl, that's a whole nother conversation. It's a whole nother show, and I don't think Paul's going to give us the hour. Plus, you have another commitment.
I do.
You have another commitment, but I think we can talk again, and you have to be back on the show, like, to talk, because I don't even think we scratched the surface of the things that we can talk about. I think we gave a good amount of time to the intellectual property of Creed 3. So I think
I mean, next time I'd like my co-host to be Michael B. Jordan, and I can be here for at least 2 hours.
Okay. Okay. I will call his people.
Thank you.
Like, I don't know if he's followed me on social media yet.
I'm probably blocked.
But I will let him know that, I mean, they're doing press interviews everywhere. So, like, what's up with Worcester?
Right.
Like,
You set it up.
Like, I will do my best.
I'll just be in the audience.
Like, no, girl. God help us today. Okay, so is there, as we're wrapping up, is there anything that, we talked about so many things. Is there anything that you wanted to say to the audience that you didn't feel like you got a chance to say? Let's shout it out.
Nothing in particular. I feel like we did a good roundabout. We did a good synopsis of who I am, what I do, what I like, what I don't like.
Yes.
Don't touch my hair.
Yes.
And but yeah, the podcast, check it out. It's at Don't Touch My Podcast. That's on all of the platforms, all of the streaming platforms, all of the social media ones. My personal website is producewellnesscoaching.com. You can book a free session, which I call a discovery session. I do that for everyone for 30 minutes. So that you can book that today for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And follow Kennedy, please, because that helps me do my job.
Yes.
And so hers is at Sen, S-E-N, Robin Kennedy. And maybe I'll come back and do more shout outs. I don't know. Yeah,
no, I know. I always forget somebody or something. And because there's we know so many people.
Yeah.
And
and Jennifer the author. At Jennifer the author.
Okay, see? No, yeah, I do see that. And I love that you're a personal coach. I always like to meet other personal coach because you know what? I think there's such a need for personal coaches. Like I'm a personal coach, you're a personal coach, and I know a couple. There's such a need for personal coaches. And I think that there's need for a lot of them because different clients resonates with different people. Different personalities, different things. I mean, there's clients that I've said no to because I was like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. But
I can see this not going to work.
Like we know it ain't gonna work. I think it's much needed. I think anything you want to do that's gonna help you get to the other side of something that's troubling you, to get clarity, to get purpose, to get enlightened, to talk about self-care and wellness and anything. So I encourage you, reach out, let's do this.
I'm excited.
All right, cool. Well, I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm following you on everything. Like I think I have all 50 of your social media.
I appreciate it.
I hope one day they merge it all though. I don't
know if I want that.
I know, but it's a lot, man.
My Facebook manager right now looks crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't even know what it looks like, girl. Like sometimes I forget to post and then I remember to post and then you see 10 posts from me and then I'm tired and whatever. But no, I had such a good time.
Me too.
Chatting with you, and I look forward to many projects in the future. You and I were chatting about a couple of things, so I'm pretty sure that they'll hear because hey, not only is it Women History Month, but I think that we can do so much together.
Yeah.
And thank you for thinking of me. Thank you
for having me. It's your show.
No, thank you for mentioning my name in spaces that I'm not
always.
In. I think that's so important, us as women, to mention other women in spaces that they're not
that
into.
I will always do.
Give them the opportunity. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate you. And, so thank you, Miss Giselle. She has been a phenomenal guest. I certainly had a good time, and we were sipping tea for real.
For real. I'm going to finish mine.
For real. So there's none other like Miss Giselle, and I enjoyed having her. I'm looking forward to having her on the show again. And I'm going to be on her podcast, and stay tuned. There's going to be some future collaborations that's going on. Shout out again to my sponsors, Life Garden Cafe, and to my sponsor, Paul Anderson Photography. Shout out to your hubby who's in the audience, Mr. Jamie Flores. Shout out to half of Sister Circle who's in the audience who don't believe me when I tell them Jamaican food is better than Trinidad and Tegan. So, you know, if Raquel was here, she would agree, because Raquel's also from Jamaica. So, but anyway, we digress. In honor of Women's History Month, I would just like to say, may you be the woman that you need to be. May you be the woman for somebody else. Your light is needed. Your light is unique. So please continue to shine your light. Never let anybody dim your light, and never use your light to dim another woman's. Until next time, this is Suzanne and Giselle saying ta-ta.
Bye. Oh, do I keep waving?